They may look factory built, but underneath that fiberglass body is nitrous burning horsepower, because attacking 200 feet of mud is not what most people would consider a Sunday drive. Coming up next, it's Pro Stock Mud Racing action. This is Trucks and Tractor Power, featuring the all-stars of NMRO Mud Racing. Welcome to Trucks and Tractor Power on the Nashville Network. Today we're in Franklin, Georgia for NMRO Mud Racing. Hi everybody, I'm Gary Lee alongside Army Armstrong. To be more specific, we're about 2 hours out of Atlanta and only minutes from the Alabama state line. And in this part of the country, off-roading is a way of life.
Well, and the class we're going to be looking at today is the class that the people can identify with. You're going to see Dodge, Ford, Chevrolet trucks and everything. So in this part of the country, which is basically a sportsman paradise, the four-wheel drive vehicle is a necessity. Now we're going to see them turned into toys. And you know, we're so close to all the deer and all the hunting action here. I think I saw a deer out there a while ago that did have a pit pass on.
It's mud racing in the red Georgia clay coming up next. A pickup truck is a mainstay on any farm here in the South, but I tell you what, a good rainstorm could turn this path into this, a mud bog. This one, in fact, is 200 feet long. The mud is 14 inches deep. We're here at the Deer Creek All-Star Nationals for Pro Stock Class competition in the NMRO Championship Mud Racing. Preparations continuing down in the pit area, but let's check in with Army Armstrong. Army, what is a Pro Stock Class racer?
Gary, one of the key vehicles we're going to be looking at today is a young man out of LaPorte, Indiana, Dan Myers, who'll be driving in the Pro Stock category. And real quick, what is a Pro Stocker? It's a new class, it's an exciting class. Tell me a little bit about it.
Army, we wanted a class in the National Mud Racing Organization that the average person could identify with. So we make these things with Chevy, Ford, recognizable bodies. We wanted it to be exciting, so we allow the cut tires on it. We allow nitrous oxide. We held it down with no blowers and things like that, but it's still a pretty exciting sport.
Well, this has turned out to be probably one of the most popular classes in 1991. Let's sit back and watch it. Dan's going to be carrying the colors for Chevrolet, but all those Dodge and Ford boys are going to be going after him big time.
And a Toyota is coming up right now. I think that's a contradiction when you use a carburetor to cut the horsepower and you use nitrous oxide to boost it.
Yeah, but Gary, that nitrous oxide makes horsepower real quick. We talked about Toyota, but he relies on Chevrolet to make that horsepower for this Toyota. They go by the name of the Lawman, Gary.
Well, this is Mike Henderson. He is from Montgomery, Alabama. He, in fact, is a police officer. Look at the lights on top of that Toyota. Chevy power.
Oh, man, you got the blue lights on top of the vehicle, but a red light on the starting line. He will not get any time, receive no credit for that run. He jumped the starting system. The replay comes up. He's going to get all for naught today in Franklin, Georgia.
Well, look at him sawing that steering wheel, a rough ride through the 200 feet of mud.
Yeah, but Gary, the story's the same. When the Lawman went through the red light, he got no points, no nothing.
Didn't get a ticket, though. As we take a look at the purple Chevy S10, this is Carlton Stroud. They call him Skeeter.
Okay, now Carlton has already purged the nitrous. They talked at the beginning about being able to run NOS nitrous on it. That makes instant horsepower. You referred to the fact you're trying to cut costs down. But boy, that nitrous will make quick horsepower for you in a hurry. It's instant horsepower. Let's watch him when he leaves the starting line.
Army has a fire. He has a problem on board.
He's got a fire, but he's taking it out the back door, and the fire's still going. A 4:34, that's a good time for him, and he's still on fire, Gary. I don't think he knows it.
He may have had a problem with the nitrous oxide bottle. When he hit that, it exploded. But keep in mind, they're burning alcohol. If it coughed back up to the carburetor, that alky can burn without a flame, so he could be on fire and we can't visually see it.
Exactly. The only way he's going to be able to tell us to watch a ripple over the top of the carburetor, and they're going to it. He is on fire, Gary.
Well, that's not the alcohol burning then.
Yeah, but Gary, what happened? The alcohol caught the filter on top of the engine on fire. The breather's what was burning.
So the crew is standing down there with Skeeter, the driver, and they survey whatever damage may have occurred in the engine compartment. As we take a look again, you'll see as he hits the nitrous oxide, something explodes. There are the flames. Now, the flames appear to be snuffed out as he completes the run. And we take a look at our next competitor, Ronnie Reed, appropriately named Hot Stuff. We just had some hot stuff. And I think, Army, you have caught up with Skeeter. What's he have to say?
Skeeter, did you have any idea you had any kind of a problem in the bottom of the truck during the run?
No, just I heard a little popping coming out of first gear, and the rest of the time it was cooking on, but my son tells me it was on fire most of the way down there.
Yeah, it was on fire all the way through the traps. What about at the finish line? When did you know you were on fire?
When I let off and I seen the smoke come out of my breather, out of my port there.
Everything's okay now, though?
As far as I know, the distributor's melted, but I think we'll be running again.
A never say die attitude in motorsports. Once again, Ronnie Reed out of Meridian, Mississippi.
All right, now, Gary, we've seen a Toyota powered by Chevrolet. We've seen an S10 Chevrolet with the big block setup. Now we got a GMC coming out. He runs another big block setup with the NOS nitrous oxide system, so let's see what's going to happen. I'm watching the track, Gary. Do you see anything setting up with the track as far as a groove for this particular class?
Well, of course, 14 inches deep and a couple of real ruts are beginning to develop. It looks like he's bogging down because the ruts are so deep.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. The axle housing, is that what it looks like to you? Is actually dragging in the mud. A 561, not the time he was looking for by any means.
A very slow run for Ronnie Reed out of Meridian, Mississippi. And once again, we talk about the 14 inches of mud, and they've got a couple of deep ruts down there, and they're dragging bottom. Here's a good look at Showtime, a Chevy Love, 355 cubic inches.
Yeah, you're talking about Showtime, but we're going to talk for a minute. These are the guys that make this all possible. They're the owners of the Deer Creek Motorsports Park, and they bring mud racing first class to this part of the country. They do a great job.
Now it's a labor of love for them as we take a look at Hal Richardson.
He comes
in
over
Showtime.
Hal comes over from South Carolina. Beautiful, bright colors.
He also has the windows rolled up to keep the cockpit clean.
He's a very smart man. Runs a 355 cubic inch Chevrolet engine. I cannot understand why they keep running in the track with the man in front of them, Gary. Why don't they go over and run in a different part of the track? He goes a 526. The motor sounded good, but it seemed like he was dragging all the way through.
Well, so often in this type of competition, we like to see a vehicle skim across the mud. Obviously, if you're following in somebody else's tracks, you're getting bogged down. Look at the undercarriage. Everything is dragging on that mud.
Exactly, and they're just making a rut worse for the guy behind them. Speaking of behind them, who's coming out next?
Well, coming up next is Donnie Wilborn driving a truck owned by Butch Glover. This is Delta Force. It's the Chevy Love.
Well, now, Donnie's kind of a unique situation. He's actually a hired gunner in the sport. He's a paid driver. He drives his own truck in competition. But Butch hired him to drive this truck. Yes, it's an S10 Chevrolet, but it's powered by the Oldsmobile engine, Gary.
And a good run despite the fact he's still right in those ruts. 4.284. That is the best so far for Delta Force.
One of the things I'm trying to figure out about the sport, we keep talking about the ruts and everything, the different engine combinations, but notice the short front tires in the front, big tires in the rear, but why they stay in the same track of the guy in front of them, I just can't understand that.
Yeah, to underscore what you're saying, we have a replay coming right at us, and you can see those deep ruts. He's right in there, not trying to use a new pad. Still has a good run, but still he's right down those ruts. And of course, a rather unusual vantage point in the back of your pickup truck, up close to the action. Here's Army.
The interesting thing about the class is a different engine combination. We told you in the opening show, Dodge, Ford, Chevrolet, and what have you. But right now, Donnie, you're powered by a unique engine. We noticed you're powered by Oldsmobile.
Yes, sir. I drive this truck for Butch Glover. I just started. I drive the White Lightning truck, and he asked me to fill in for an alternative here. It's a fast ride.
Yeah, the Oldsmobile sets on top, so who would have thought we'd have come to a truck race and an Oldsmobile being in the lead? He's on top right now, but believe me, everybody else is putting the war paint on in the pit area and going after him. I'll show you what I mean. Look at the starting line.
Now, one of those drivers ready to shoot him down is Dan Myers. We talked with Dan earlier out of LaPorte, Indiana, the northern portion of the Hoosier State. He drives the short and sweet Chevy with the big block Chevrolet engine. And there he is receiving his hardware as the 1990 NMRO Pro Stock Champion, the plaque and the ring. But right now he's not dressed in a business suit because he has his working clothes on this afternoon. He's going to get muddy.
But Gary, I tell you what, he's going to get down to business real quick. This short wheelbase Chevrolet setup seems to really plant the horsepower for him. You know, this sport's a whole lot like drag racing. I'm trying to draw similarities. The sounds are very similar to drag racing. You deal with the vehicles with the heavy flywheels, the driver set in them. The rhythm's about the same. But man, these guys are really working on the other end of that track. The end zone cameras let you see how hard they're getting jerked around up in there, and it's just amazing.
Now, you don't fight a steering wheel like that when you're in a slingshot dragster.
No, they're hooking. a lot of movements, almost like a sprint car and a tacky track. He goes at 370. So, man, he's right in the middle of this thing.
Well, he's on top of the standings right now, 3.709 for Dan Myers out of LaPorte, Indiana. Take a look again.
Now, he actually got off to the left of those ruts we were talking about. He left in the same spot, yes, but immediately moved about 6 inches to the left, and it worked for him.
Well, here's a look at the crew talking to Mike Loudermilk Jr. We'll see him in competition a bit later, but right now, here's the king of the hill.
Well, when we opened the show with you, we were talking about the Dodge Ford Chevrolets. You just bumped an Oldsmobile out of the lead with this Chevrolet. I didn't think that was going to happen.
Well, you never know what's going to happen in a good mud race like this. It was a good ride, I'll tell you that.
This is a good class, isn't it? These people are really getting into it.
It's going to be pretty exciting with the cut tires. You know, we're going pretty fast, and that's what everybody wants to see.
All the Chevrolet people are happy, the Ford people are mad, and the class is just getting going. Let's see how it winds down. Good luck to you.
Okay, thank you.
We take a look now at a guy who is always tough as we look inside the cockpit at bad influence driver Joe Kinzer. He's coming up shortly. Army Armstrong and Gary Lee back at the Deer Creek Motorsports Park in Franklin, Georgia, where Dan Myers finds his short and sweet on top the heap at 3.709, then Donnie Wilborn and Carlton Stroud. Competition continues now as we take a look at Joe Kinzer. The truck is bad influence, a 1985 Chevy S10 with a big block Chevrolet power plant.
Well, Myers was showing us a minute ago it can be done as the Woodstock, Georgia native goes to the lane. They're all leaving in the same launch pad area, but Myers moves 6 inches to the left. Let's watch this front camera angle and see if he does it. He moved a little bit to the right. Now he's going to the left. Now he's out of shape, Gary.
He's totally out of shape, but he kept his foot in it. A lot of shutdown areas, 3.786. A good run, but not quick enough to take the lead.
Gary, I figured it out. They're launching from the very same spot, but then they just want to move about 3 or 4 inches one way or the other and right on the edge of that groove we were talking about earlier. Watch the replay.
Of course, the starting line is packed down, so they're getting a good jump, a good bite, but then they're trying to get up on top of the mud by steering right or left.
Exactly, and in this case, he actually came out of that rut, and a short wheelbase, about like a sprint car on a slippery track, he had his hands full.
And right now, Army, you're down there with Joe Kinzer.
Joe, you come into this thing with a little S10 Chevrolet taking one of the wildest rides we've seen in the sport.
Yeah, I'm known for driving crazy and stuff like that, and track's getting real bad today because it hadn't had a week to set and sorted itself out and everything. So,
well, you're looking good out there. One of the things I'm noticing, you guys that follow racing notice it too. Seems like the wildest driver in the sport is the quietest guy when it comes time to do an interview. He lets his driving do the talking for him.
Is that Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde motorsports persona we talk about?
I tell you, but there's another group of Kinzers in Indiana the same way. Who we got coming out now, Gary?
John Lynham in the Mudslinger from South Carolina, 1988 Ford Ranger. Big 460 Ford power plant with the groundhog tires.
Myers stays on top of this thing with the Chevrolet. The 370s the time they're trying to bump after. Mudslinger looks good, goes right down the middle. What's his time, Gary?
Well, he had a good time despite the fact he stayed in that groove at 3.727. Excellent time. He's second quick.
So the track actually seems to be coming around. You got a 370 and a 378, now a 372. So I guess a mud track, like any kind of racetrack, can come or go away from you, Gary.
It looked like he may have had more ground clearance, so that truck maybe set up a little higher.
That's a good point. That's a good observation.
Well, they're working on the night shift. Daryl Galloway and his crew with the Valvoline sponsorship, a good-looking race truck.
Yeah, he's over from North Carolina. These guys with Galloway's four-wheel drive center, they've been involved in a lot of different motorsports. He would not have come over this far had he not thought he could be a player before the afternoon's over. Speaking of players, who's coming out now?
I like the name of this truck, Spoiled Rotten. We saw him earlier, Mike Loudermilk Jr. out of Vero Beach, Florida.
Yeah, he runs the Super Swamper tires. You know, there's a tire war going on here. You got Super Swampers and groundhogs and mudders and everything else. Everybody's got their own idea of what works, but what happened here?
Bogged down.
Yeah, I don't think he got on top of the mud at all.
Now a very poor start and a slow time at 4.112, but he lost it right at the very start.
You know, Gary, this is an interesting class because everybody's got somebody they can pull for. You look at the camera angle now, look at those two grooves coming right down the middle. Family sport, mud racing, who would have thought it? Only in America, Gary Lee.
Well, bring along your earplugs because it's also a very noisy sport as well as being dirty. Here we take a look at Donnie Wilborn and White Lightning. Talk about a wild combination, a Dodge pickup with a Chevrolet power plant.
Gary, this is the second run he's made today. He was a gentleman driving a Chevrolet powered by Oldsmobile a moment ago.
An excellent hole shot, a great run. He may have done it. Yes, look at that. The quick time today, 3.703.
Gary, that puts him number one by 0.06 of a second. The replay comes up. Time in the seat is so very, very important.
Remember,
in
he
any kind
had
of
that
motorsport.
run earlier. He knows what this track is like, what it's going to take on this racetrack. Good view here. Look at that chassis work. Look at the weight transfer. In any kind of motorsports, the chassis has to be right. Here's the guy on top of the heap.
This is the second interview we've done with this guy, familiar face. He was in the lead a minute ago in another truck, goes back to the pit. He's a hired gun driving your own truck now. Donnie, second time in a row, you're the leader and they're all coming after you.
I hope it can stay. We've worked hard all weekend here. And last night I had it, got beat out 3 times after me. So I'm right there. I just hope it'll stay.
Well, now as we take a close look at the tires, the cut groundhog on the truck they call Night Shift, a GMC with Chevrolet power. This is Daryl Galloway.
Well, Gary, we talked about him earlier. He came all the way over from North Carolina, and if you're familiar with motorsports, you know the name Galloway and North Carolina mean horsepower. Look at this, Gary.
Excellent ride. He has the lead. Yes, 3.551 for that Valvoline-sponsored GMC truck. Daryl Galloway now has the lead. Let's take a look again.
What, 355? That's going to be tough to beat. The ground clearance, you brought it out a while ago. Very, very important, isn't it, Gary?
Look at him coming right at you with that ground clearance for weight distribution. The driver position right in the middle of the cab. The fans look on. Let's talk to our new leader, Daryl Galloway.
Well, Daryl, 355 for the Valvoline Special, an awfully strong run this afternoon.
Well, the track was tough. It was better yesterday, and the ruts got deep today, and the times were down. And we went to a taller tire. We changed in the staging area because we seen how bad the ruts were, and we went ahead and changed to try to get our ground clearance up.
Whatever changes you made, there were good changes. You're number one. Let's see if you can hang on to it.
Thank you.
So as he walks away, some congratulatory handshakes from the crew. Well, can anybody beat it? Trucks and Tractor Power coming to you today from Franklin, Georgia for the NMRO Championship Mud Racing. Daryl Galloway continues to lead with Night Shift at 3.551. Then it's Donnie Wilborn, White Lightning, and Dan Myers in Short and Sweet. There's a look at Daryl Galloway as he continues to watch the competition from alongside this 200 feet mud pit. And the next up, Kirk Raymond. He drives the Chevy Obsession. It's an S10 with a Chevy 427 cubic inch power plant. Bobby Vaz yet to go, also looks over the competition.
Gary, I believe in this class, it's better to go at the bottom of the class. The times are progressively getting quicker as we go into the field. We only have 2 more trucks left. 3.55 is a quick time. Obsession goes through a good run. What was his time, Gary?
An excellent run, but not quite fast enough. That is second fast at 3.664.
So the track is definitely coming to these guys. I think it's Galloway said earlier, you look at the track, you put taller tires on. If I were in a pit area right now, I'd be looking for wagon wheels. I'd
be jacking that truck up as high as I could get it for ground clearance. Well, they load up showtime as we go back and talk to the man in second place.
Kurt, a 3.66 makes you second quick. That's not bad this type of competition.
No, it's not bad for the way the track was today. It was real rough and you really couldn't hook up.
Looked like a Bronco rider in about the last 40 feet. The back end kicked up on you, had to keep powering into it.
Yeah, it was rough.
Hang in there, you're setting number 2. Let's see if you can hold on to it.
Thanks a lot.
And as he walks away, perhaps a little disappointed, we take a look at Bobby Vaz in Taz 2 from Tallahassee, Florida. Time to beat 3.551, our final competitor. Oh, he has a problem right off the start, Army.
There you got a transmission going away. He needs to back out of this now. There you go. Very wisely shuts it down. He baked the transmission on the starting line, torched it right there at half track.
So our finals today, Daryl Galloway wins it in Night Shift. Kirk Raymond is second Obsession. Donnie Wilburn rounding out the top 3 in White Lighting. Let's go down with Army and talk to our winner.
Well, Daryl Galloway from New London, North Carolina, came over to put all these bad boys on the trailer. They told us at the beginning, Daryl, it was going to be an exciting class. Congratulations on the win, and congratulations to the rest of the class. It was just a real exciting event here.
Yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed it. It was a good class, a lot of competition, and it's real tight, and a lot of nice trucks in it.
Yeah, these guys, they told us when you came in, oh, they got a bad boy from the Tar Heel State here. And when it all wound down, that's who was left standing, the Tar Heel.
Thanks, Army. As the youngsters play with their toys, the big boys play with their more expensive toys. Our congratulations to Daryl Galloway on his championship here at Deer Creek Motorsports Park in Franklin, Georgia. For Army Armstrong, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on another edition of Trucks and Tractor Power. Now, stay tuned for news of an exciting new home video from Diamond P Sports.